everyone, welcome to my first YouTube video. I asked you guys on Instagram to ask me some questions in relation to pregnancy, infant loss, CHD, kind of all of those topics, and I'm going to answer those questions for you now. I have them on my iPad because I'm filming this on my phone because I'm not some fancy YouTuber with 500 different cameras. So they're on my iPad right now. But for those that don't know me, my name is Laura, and in February this year my first son Roman was born. Unfortunately, he passed away 3 months later from congenital heart disease. My pregnancy, birth, and obviously newborn experience was completely different to anything I thought it could be. Growing up, I always thought that, this whole pregnancy and birth was a beautiful time, but for us it was so hard and stressful. And me and my partner are young and healthy, and we would have never expected something like this could happen to us. So that is why I am passionate about this topic, talking about Roman's story and raising awareness. So that's why we're here today. I'm going to answer these questions. So the first one is from Erin Cooper, and she asks, what do you think the hardest part of the whole situation was? That is a good question. It's also a hard question to answer. I think overall, the hardest part was just feeling like as a mother and a new kind of mother experience, it was just pulled away from me. Roman was taken away as soon as he was born to the NICU. I couldn't bath him, I couldn't dress him, I couldn't feed him. Like all of those things that are just so normal when it comes to looking after a newborn, we couldn't do. And I could never start a routine with him or anything because everything I wanted to do was always overlooked by nurses or doctors or other members of the team. And it just was really challenging to kind of find that new role that you're now in as a mother, but in that setting. I just felt robbed, and I felt like that was so challenging because it was for months and months on end. Obviously losing him was challenging in itself, and living every day afterwards without him is hard. But when he was still here and we went through that whole experience, that was probably the hardest part. Next question is, how did you first figure out you were pregnant? And pretty much my period was just one day late, and I took a test and it came up positive, and that was it. We weren't really trying really hard to conceive Roman, but we also weren't preventing it. We wanted to get a house first, but I knew that obviously being a mum was my number one priority in life, and if it happened, so to speak. We were going to be obviously so happy. And yeah, it happened very easily. I had taken a test 5 days prior and it came up negative, so I just assumed I wasn't pregnant, even though I thought I was. And all my symptoms were just, pre-period symptoms, but they weren't. They were pregnancy symptoms, and yeah, that was that. Did you and your family have a funeral for Roman? Thinking of you. This is Alex Kate 21. Thank you so much. Funeral, no. So we haven't done anything for Roman yet. It's been about 2.5 months since his passing, and that has been partly due to the coronavirus, but also because I feel like sometimes if someone passes away and then you rush into a funeral, it's just all this big blur. It's a week of you lost them, and then you're making the arrangements, and then you have the funeral, and then you kind of sit back and it's like, whoa, that happened. I wanted some time to process everything. I wanted to make sure that I planned him a service that was more of a celebration as opposed to a mourning. And that's kind of what we've done. So we have planned it all out now. It's going to be in about a month's time, and it's going to be more of a celebration. And I think it's nice. Everyone's had the time to kind of process everything, and then we can all come together and honor his life. So yeah, that will be nice. Shinbin says, totally agree about breaking the taboo. I myself didn't have an enjoyable pregnancy. And yeah, this is a really big thing, guys, because everyone thinks that pregnancy is all happy days. It's easy. You don't struggle with infertility. You fall pregnant when you're, happy and healthy and you're glowing, and it's so far from the case. If you have had a really good pregnancy and you've got healthy babies, you're definitely blessed, and you should know that. But for the most part, it's not all it's cracked up to be. And yeah, I think it needs to be spoken about more. I had horrendous morning sickness. I couldn't even get out of bed. It was so isolating. And then we got Roman's diagnosis, and it all came downhill from there. So let's talk about that, shall we? Next question. I'm sure every day is hard, but what do you do on those really hard days? Honestly, obviously today is like a decent day, you know, I'm up and I'm doing stuff, but some days I cannot get out of bed, guys. And some days I literally just have to accept that. Like, I really struggle with it because I'm quite a productive person and I like to get up and, you know, get on with my day. And then I'm literally just fighting my body when I'm trying to do that on a bad day. So I just need to sit back, sit on the couch, be a grub, have some snacks, not worry about my to-do list. It'll get done when it gets done, and just let myself have a day. And I've started to do that recently, and it is really beneficial. It's obviously when it starts to be like that for days and days and days that, you know, you might start wanting to look into some psychology and things like that. But for now, like, just having a down day is very much needed. It's good for your body, it's good for your mind. So that's what I've kind of told myself, and that's what we've been doing. Yeah, sometimes I honestly just cry every hour and I just sit in a dark room and look at photos of Roman or whatever, and that's just how it is. Next question is, what happened to Roman after he passed at the hospital? Did you guys have a funeral? So I've already answered this one about the funeral, but after he passed, we pretty much just stayed with him for about 3 hours. We took some photos, we got him changed, and just kind of, loved on him. Took him up to the roof of the hospital because there's like an open garden up there. And that was like really a sentimental moment for me because I felt like when I went up there, his soul went up to the sky, and we told him that he could pick a star to go up to. And then that really helped me because after that, I felt like there wasn't too much of a connection to his physical body because his soul had already left. But my partner really struggled with kind of leaving his physical body. That was really hard for him. Obviously it was hard for me too, but he was very much connected to the physical. And after those 3 hours, the nurse took Roman down to the morgue, and we picked him up from the funeral. The funeral home picked him up about 2 weeks after that once we made arrangements. Are you thinking of having another one? Yes, definitely want to have more babies. I think this experience could either deter you to be like, no, I definitely want to try ever again, like I'm done. What I went through is just too hard. But then I think also it could put you the other way to be like, I just need more babies straight away. For us, it's kind of been a process. We even were thinking about when we were going to have a second baby when Roman was still here. Like, we've always wanted to have kids quite close together. We've always wanted to have quite a few kids, and we wanted to do them when we're quite young. So we've had to kind of obviously change plans now and give ourselves time to grieve and everything like that. But we have started talking about baby number 2 and when we would like to start trying to conceive. And I guess if I was pregnant by the end of the year, I would be very happy. What helps you get through each day? I find I'm really struggling. I'm so sorry if you've also experienced something like this and you've lost a child. In terms of what helps me, I obviously, as I was saying before, I let myself have a down day. If that's how it's going to be, and I've tried to get up and get on with my day and nothing's working, I just throw in the towel. Tomorrow's a new day, and I just let myself do nothing. But on other days, I really find waking up and writing to-do lists helps me kind of get the motivation to do stuff and kind of organize my thoughts, because as you know, through grief, it's really hard to, you're kind of like foggy a lot of the time. So I write to-do lists. I also communicate. I think that is so important. I talk about how I'm feeling, even if it's, you know, just to my partner, or I post about our story, or I talk about how I'm feeling on my Instagram and things, which actually help me so much. And just trying to feel, you know, as many happy kind of thoughts about Roman's life as I can, I guess you could say. Like, it's really hard to be like, this was so unfair. Why did this happen to him? Why did this happen to us? But I choose to look at it in a different way, as in everything that he's changed about how we live our lives for the better, and kind of the memories that we've got with him, and just the hope for our future, and knowing that we've always got like a guardian angel to look after us and look after our future kids. And yeah, I just try to look at it in that sense as much as I can, and look out for the little signs that he sends me And I guess that kind of helps to an extent, but obviously nothing is ever going to be the same and it's never going to be perfect. So you just need to wake up and see how you feel each day and go with it. Okay, next question. I'm so anxious about having my baby. What sort is out there in case things don't go to plan? I think that means like what sort of support. It's really hard because I guess like if you've never been through anything like this and because no one talks about it that often, it's very like normal to think that everything, what I'm trying to say is it's very normal to think that things will go to plan. But I think it's really important to be aware and be aware of the statistics, be aware that things don't go to plan, and that things can be wrong. But also you need to look on the bright side in the sense that there's a lot of beautiful, healthy children out there, and there's a lot of families that do, you know, be okay when they give birth. So I feel like it's about having that balance between, okay, yes, things can go wrong, but also there's no reason as to why I don't deserve for things to go right. And it's just about having that awareness. Obviously, if things don't go well, then that's a whole different ball game. It depends on what level, you know, obviously a baby passing away versus having a diagnosis. It depends kind of on a whole sort of different things there. But I feel like you just need to go into it thinking as much as you can that everything is going to be okay and being positive about it, but also being aware. That's probably what I can say about that one. How are you and Perry doing? So I find this question quite difficult. I don't know really how to answer it because I can't really say good, because how can we be good? You know, our baby died. But in terms of like how good you can be in that sort of situation, I think we are. I mean, our relationship is super solid. Perry's back at work and he's doing really well. I am doing other things that are keeping me busy and looking after our house and planning for whether I'm going to go back to work and kind of planning our future. And like I feel optimistic and hopeful in that sense, but there's no way that I can say that overall I am good. I'm nothing like I used to be before this whole happened. This whole experience has completely changed me and I'm just a new kind of good. I guess I will never be the same and I will never be perfect because a part of me is not here anymore. So I guess hopefully that answers your question. What helped you and your partner stay positive and strong throughout such a rough time? Honestly, Roman helped so much. Like just looking at him and looking at him meet milestones and looking at him improve helped us obviously be positive to keep going because we always could see the finish line in that sense. But also each other. I mean, having a strong support network in between each other, but then also from our extended family was massive support. Obviously we had to relocate an hour away from home, so we needed lots of support with meals and things like that. They would bring us up food and whatever. We also had a GoFundMe page, which helped so much. I can't even begin to say how much that has helped us. In terms of being positive, like I am always quite a positive person. I trained myself from a very young age to always see the bright side of everything, and it comes quite naturally to me now. So I obviously would just kind of be as positive as I could in my like mindset. But I don't really know. Like looking back, what we went through is crazy to me, and I kind of like, how did I do that? But I feel like when you're in the moment, you just do it. You know, it's your baby, it's your child. You don't have a choice, you just do it. Why couldn't Roman have a transplant? This is a very good question. A transplant was actually never brought up to us from any of our doctors or medical team or anything like that. From what I understand from a heart transplant, you need to have good pulmonary arteries, which Roman did not. His were too small, and so they kept kind of collapsing, and that is probably a risk factor for a heart transplant. Also, you have to be over 5 kilos, and Roman was at least 1.5 kilos away from that. And if he needed a heart transplant, like instantly, there's a wait list, obviously, and it's categorized. So whether he would make it to needing that heart transplant and staying well enough in between would be debatable. Also, our current city doesn't do them, and we would have to fly to Melbourne, which is about 2 hours away, which obviously we would do if it was an option. But I trust the doctors and their management, and the fact that they didn't bring it up to us is going to make me assume that it wasn't an option. Plus, like, a heart transplant comes with lots of other problems. It's not kind of we just transplant a heart in and then, you know, we go about our lives. It's a big process, and unfortunately heart transplants only last an average of 14 years, which is what I recently read. If it's different now, please let me know, but from what I understand, the average lifespan of a heart transplant is 14 years. So obviously that would bring Roman to his teenage years, and then we would be looking at where do we go from here, and there's not many options left. And yeah, that would just be a very difficult process. But it's absolutely amazing that heart transplants exist for families that it is suitable for. Did they let you stay with Roman for as long as you liked after he passed? This is also a good question. So they told us that we have about 3 hours after his passing before his body will start to change. And it's not like they didn't let us stay for as long as we wanted, but I felt a pressure there. And I don't know if that was because they told us this or what, but I constantly felt like, oh God, what's the time? You know, has it been 3 hours yet? And I felt like in that moment I only had 3 hours, which I regret now, to be honest, because I've heard stories where you can stay as long as you like. They can bring in a cuddle cot, which is a cold cot, to kind of preserve the body and give you that time. And I kind of regret it. In the moment, obviously, I can't regret it because that is what I felt right in the moment. But looking back, it would have been nice to have more time. But then at the end of the day, like, you're going to have to give the body to them at some point. And I don't think that any time would be long enough. You know what I mean? I feel like you just have to kind of rip off the Band-Aid and do it. Because otherwise, yeah, I'll leave that one there. What was the hardest part of the experience? Also, you're so strong to be able to take that on. I've kind of answered this, the hardest part of the experience, earlier on. Obviously, losing him and after that has been really hard. But in terms of being strong, like, honestly, like I said before, like, you don't actually know how strong you are until you have no choice. Like, I was his mother, and it was my duty to look after him and make sure that everything was okay. I couldn't just throw in the towel and be like, nah, see ya, I don't want to do this. I mean, maybe I could have, but obviously I'm not going to do that. Like, this kind of thing happens to people all around the world all the time, and you just do it. You know, you pull out the strength that you didn't even know you had. I mean, all power to women. What I went through with birth and then getting straight back up to look after him in that kind of stressful situation, like, I am so grateful to my body. Like, it's really, yeah, I mean, it's given me a whole new appreciation for women and what they can go through. Also, obviously, this affects the whole family, but I'm just talking specifically about getting up, looking after a baby that is this sick when you're postpartum. Like, it's an experience, that's for sure. How is it being in the hospital for most of his life? Honestly, I hated it. Like, I'm a nurse and I know very much how hospitals work and I know what the environments are like, but it is so different when you're actually living there with a newborn. Like, newborns are hard work as it is. And then imagine you're trying to look after a newborn, but you've got people coming in all the time. You've got other screaming kids all around you. You've got beepers and monitors that just do not stop. There's not a moment of silence in that place. Plus, you've got no fresh air. You've got no home-cooked meals. You can't do what you like with your baby because it needs to be run by every man and their dog. Like, it's not their fault. They're obviously doing their job, but it is so hard. And I feel like if it's only for like a couple of weeks, you're just like, yeah, all good, I'll suck it up. Like, this is what I've got to do for my baby, of course. But like, we were there for months, and like, people are there for even longer than us. And I don't even know how you do that. Like, seeing your baby in that state, they're getting poked, they're getting prodded, they're distressed, you're distressed. Like, it's honestly horrific. I hate it. I hated it so much. I imagine it would have been very hard to put him down knowing it would be last time you held him. Yes, you would imagine correct. It was a very difficult time. We just kind of gave him to the nurse, and she was beautiful. She was rocking him and comforting him as we packed our bags and walked out of the hospital without a baby. Like, I was in a fog. You know, I just was like, is this a nightmare? Am I awake? Like, it's such a strange feeling. I think that will do. I think that will be all for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to follow our journey, I will link my Instagram, my TikTok down below, where I kind of go more into depth of what we've been through. I might even make a new YouTube video soon explaining it all. But thank you so much. I hope everyone has a great day, and thank you for your questions. Hopefully I kind of shed some light on this very awful topic.